Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Yarn at the Barn. My name is Manon. I'm a programmer, horsey girl, and a knitter. This is part 2 of a pattern roundup that I started last week, and while editing realized that I was not going to be able to finish and post that same evening. Um, so this is just the intro of me today because I'm going to edit it today and hopefully post it today. But the actual pattern discussion was recorded last week. Um, this part of the patterns is just the socks to celebrate Socktober. I hope you can't hear my dog. He's just woken up and was crying a bit, but he's gone back to sleep. But yeah, just 6 patterns of socks. And to be very clear, I've never ever knitted socks before. This month, this Socktober, is going to be my very first time. And so I looked for patterns that I would knit as, I'm an absolute sock knitting beginner, but I would qualify myself as an adventurous beginner bordering on intermediate knitter, maybe. Um, so I didn't want plain vanilla socks. That was not going to keep my interest, I think, or I would just knit one sock and then I would be like, okay, this was too easy. Or now I've done it and there's not much more interest. So I picked patterns that had a little bit of cables, a little bit of lace. There's one I think that is a bit more advanced that would maybe not be my very first sock, but that looks really nice. It's just been released, so that was also a little bit of the reason why I included it. But the rest looks fairly easy. Um, so yeah, I hope you enjoy it. There's also some different constructions, toe up, cuff down, different designers. There's one pattern that has a possibility to be free, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Let's go. We're going to start with socks that have been in my Ravelry for quite some time that I thought were really, really nice. Nice is not quite the right word. It doesn't cover it. They're very beautiful. They have this beautiful motif of, I guess, wheat. And I know the harvest is not in autumn, but for some reason it reads autumn to me and not summer. These are the Herbarium Socks by Masha. I'm going to butcher her name. I'm so sorry. Masha Ziablikova. I hope I didn't put any extra letters or took some letters out. Anyway, this pattern has been released quite some time ago. It's from January 2022. It has 96 projects on Ravelry and it would cost you €6.54. I'm not going to mention needle sizes for socks after this because all of them, apart from the last one, are knit on 2.25mm needles. So that's US 1, and that is true for every sock pattern coming after that. So just keep that in the back of your mind. The gauge does differ though. So this one has a 34 stitch gauge in stockinette, and the suggested yarn is lang yarn in Yarrow superwash, and that's 75% merino and 25%, I think it's nylon. Yes. Anyway, any sock yarn. I don't really have sock yarn suggestions, but I think for 2 of them, because any sock yarn will do, really, I guess. And then the size range is between 36 and 43 foot size UK. Not UK, what am I saying? EU. It comes in English and it's knitted cuff down. There are step-by-step instructions, there are charts, and there's videos. Moving on to the pair of socks that I am gonna knit. And these are the Agrimonia Socks by Wedge. That is in her Skein on socials. This pattern was released last month, and when I saw it, it was like the last drop of motivation I needed to finally start knitting socks. They look really beautiful. They have this beautiful sort of floral lace motif on the top of the sock and around the ankle, and they have a picot edging. and it has 22 projects on Ravelry. It would only cost you €6, and it has a 37 stitch gauge in stockinette. She knitted this in, I think it's like an indie yarns dye yarn that she picked up in Canada, but it's Carly Page Fiber Co. BFL sock. I'm gonna knit mine. Yarn has finally come in Malabrigo Ultimate Sock. So it is, I already forgot what this is, but 75% merino superwash and 25% nylon. Okay, nothing out of the ordinary. I also got one in a different colorway, a bit more similar to the ones that Marie-Eve is wearing in the sample. But then when I saw this color, which is Neverland, I don't know. It's not a color that looks good for a garment close to my face, for example. It washes me out. It's not deep and warm enough, but this is going on my feet, and I really love this color. I think it's very dreamy, very soft, so this was my chance. So I still need to wind this up, and then I can start. What else do I need to tell you about this one? It comes in 6 different sizes. So lots of sock patterns give you either the amount of stitches, circumference they have, or foot circumference that they are supposed to fit. So for this one, it's 17.5 to 23 centimeters that the sock will measure in circumference, and that is between 56 and 76 stitches. So if you know in a certain yarn how many stitches work well for you, this pattern will tell you what size you need to do. It comes in English and in French, and this one is knitted toe up so that you can do the little picot edging and so that the flower motif goes the right way up. It has 2 options for the heel. It has a regular or high instep, and it has a video tutorial for the picot edging if you need help with that. Next one on the list is a very nice pattern, and I will tell you why in a bit. But this is the Petal Drop Socks by Florence Miller. It's been released in August 2023. It has a lot of projects on Ravelry. It has 1,302 projects. So this is a very popular one, and I think I know why. This would only cost you €4.60. However, she wants this to be quite accessible to everyone. So she has a code if you want 50% discount. So if you can't afford the normal price, so if you need a 50% discount, or if you can't afford that, you can also get them for free with yet another code. So I thought that was really nice. I think the codes are, half of socks for 50% and free socks for 100%. I think it's lovely that she does this. So to me, this is not a lot of money, but everyone's situation is different, and I think it's a lovely way of saying, here's a pattern, I want this to be accessible for everyone. I trust the community to do the right thing. If you can afford this, you pay the full price. If it's on the limit, maybe you go for 50%. If you can't afford it, you still want to knit socks. There you go. So that is lovely. It has those beautiful little lacy loops that form sort of petals. If I'm not mistaken, those are like mock cables. So they're very easy to knit. In fact, they're the little cables that are on here. So there you go. That is what you would knit on these socks, if I'm not mistaken. It has a gauge of 36 stitches in the lace pattern, and it is knit in a yarn that has a name that is going to be fun to pronounce. Shashanmaya Regia Premium Bamboo. So that sounds like quite a summery yarn, but once again, any sock yarn will work. It only has 2 sizes though. For the sock circumference, it's between 17 and 20 centimeters. And that is sort of sock circumference, and that is supposed to have 3 to 6 centimeters of negative ease. It comes in English, it is knitted, cuff down, and it also has a YouTube tutorial for every step of this pattern. So this sounds really, really lovely. Next one on the list, let me get my notes, is the Kyholm Sock knit by Moltrup, and I hope I pronounced all of that correctly. This was just released this month. It, as of now, has 0 projects on Ravelry. It would cost you €4.88, and the gauge is 32 stitches in stockinette. It's knitted in a, or at least the sample is knitted in Art Yarn's cashmere sock. Let me double check. That's 67% cashmere, 25% wool, and 8% nylon. Actually got, so I want to knit some Oktoberfest socks for my brother because he lives in Munich. And for that, I got Mayflower First Class Cashmere, which, I can't remember what the contents of that is, but mostly wool, 10% cashmere, that part I remember, and then some part of nylon or polyamide to make it quite strong. And that's something that could work for this. If you wanted some extra soft socks with cashmere, that is still a very affordable option. I can't remember how much I paid, but it wasn't that much. So for a sock yarn with cashmere in it, that's a good option. It has 3 different sizes. For the ankle circumference, you have the choice between 19 and 22 centimeters. So that's the range. And the positive ease is supposed to be between 2 and 4 centimeters, according to what you prefer. It comes in English and it's Danish, and it is knitted cuff down. Next one is another pattern by Wedge. It's the second pattern of a designer, but these are socks, and she makes really, really nice socks. If you want more socks by her, have a look at her Ravelry. There's quite a lot of them. This is yet another really nice one. It's the Pointelle Socks, and Pointelle is sort of having a bit of a moment where it was in summer, and it might transition a little bit still into autumn, who knows. But so if you like that, then this is really, really lovely. They were released in November from last year, 2024. It has 28 projects on Ravelry. It will cost you €6. I am touching the mic. I hope that was okay. Gauge is 35 stitches in stockinette. She used a yarn that is called Old School Acres 3-ply fingering. Once again, any fingering, any sock yarn will probably do. It has 4 different sizes, so it will range between 60 and 72 stitches circumference, and your foot circumference would have to be between 19 and 23 centimeters, and the negative ease for these ones is between 1.5 and 2.5 centimeters. It comes in English and in French, and it is knitted cuff down. Last one. These are the Hibernal DK Socks by Summerlee, and these are socks knitted in a DK. So if you don't want to mess with tiny little needles, you want to be finished faster, but you still want something that has like little lace mock cables on there, this is the pattern for you. It was released in February 2024. It has 472 projects on Ravelry. It would cost you €4.90, and the needles used for this are 3.25 millimeters or US 3. It has a gauge of 28 stitches in the pattern, so the mock cables, and the suggested yarns. She's got 3 different suggestions. There's Lang Yarns Mohair Luxe, there's Knit Picks Stroll Fingering, and there's Hedgehog Fibers Merino DK. Any sock yarn held double, I guess, would work, or a nice DK that has some polyamide or nylon so that your socks are a bit strong. But yeah, more than enough options. 4 different sizes. For the sock circumference, it's between 18 and 25 centimeters. Aha, there we go. I was wrong. So it's not the sock circumference. The 18-25 centimeters is the circumference around the ball of your foot. So there you go. It comes in English and it is knitted cuff down. Okay, that was it for the 6 sock patterns. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can let me know, well, in a comment, and let me know which pattern you would like to knit, or if you're knitting socks for Socktober at the moment. If you don't want to leave a comment, you can also just give me a like. Then I just know that you have enjoyed it. And if you're not subscribed yet, you can help my channel grow and support me that way by hitting the subscribe button, and then you're never going to miss another video in the future. Thank you so much if you do all of that, and thank you for being with me to go through these patterns, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.